So it's been a little while since I've done one of these, but I still want to continue the series or the theme of relationships, specifically husband and wife relationships, and we talked about really how we're supposed to interact with one another. That was a couple weeks, well, I guess a few weeks back now, and how our marriage is supposed to reflect the gospel. It's supposed to express Christ in us. And then we talked about submission and what that really should mean versus, I guess, how it's received in our culture now. So at this point, I really want to focus on us men. So ladies, if you're a lady watching, take what you can from this. But guys, I really want to talk to us about how we love our wives. This love that we're supposed to have for our spouse is supposed to be unconditional. It's supposed to be selfless. In fact, Ephesians 5 tells us that men, we're supposed to love our wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. He died for the sake of the church, and we ought to have that same kind of passion, love, selflessness, desire, sacrifice for our wives. What does that really look like? Man, that means a lot of things. It means showing grace. It means being selfless. It means loving even when we don't feel like loving. It means giving of ourselves. It's commitment. There are going to be things that bug you about your spouse, and you just love them anyway. Communication goes a long way with that kind of thing. And if we're really going to love the way that God expects us to love, it's going to take Christ in us. It's that reflection of Christ in us. It's Him loving our spouse better through us. So even married couples who aren't believers, even husbands who don't have a relationship with God, are able to love their wives deeply, to love their wives well. And I think that that's just really the grace of God shown through mankind, regardless of a relationship with Him. But how much deeper should we love our wives if we do have a relationship with God? It should be on another level completely. Let me put it this way. We ought to love our wives in a way that makes it easier for them to submit, to come alongside us, to be that helper, to be that complementary pairing with us. And yet so many times we make it difficult for them to love us or to submit. I mean, there are reasons that there are women that want to take charge and want to lead in their relationships with their husbands. It's not the way that God orchestrated it. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but it's also not our job to make them submit. And I talked about that last time. Our job is to lead well. And what it looks like to lead well is to love well. So if you want a healthy relationship, if you want a wife that chooses submission because she wants to, not because she feels obligated to, then it really means loving her well. It means asking for her forgiveness when you've wronged her. It means giving her forgiveness when she needs it. It means showing grace. It means taking responsibility. And it means to treat her with a gentleness that she needs and that she deserves. Women by nature, at least typically speaking, are more emotional, maternal people. And they're more sensitive more times than not. We need to be aware of that. And we really need to tap into that. I think too many times we treat them like they're our buddy, and they should be your best friend. Honestly, men, your wife should be your best friend. But we can't just treat them like another one of the guys. First Peter puts it this way. He says to treat them as if they're the weaker vessel. That's not necessarily speaking in a way that they're physically weaker or that they can't do the things that we can do or anything like that. It means that they're fragile, that they should be treated with some value, that there is a sense of I guess, sensitivity and fragility that we need to treat them with. If you've been married for any extended period of time, I'm getting ready as of this video to celebrate my 15th wedding anniversary with my wife come July. The longer you're with somebody, the more desensitized you get, the more comfortable you get, and it's easy to forget to treat someone like that you've become so familiar with and that you're so comfortable around, to treat them with the respect that you ought to treat them with, to treat them with the kind of compassion and sensitiveness that they really deserve from us, that they require from us. If we're really going to love the way that God loves, especially with our spouses, we need to remind ourselves of that. And when we fail to do it, we need to ask for forgiveness. We need to better communicate, and we need to allow God to love through us, especially in those times where it's hard. Outside of that, Ephesians also says we're supposed to love them the way that we love ourselves. And let's face it, guys, we love ourselves a lot more than we want to admit. If you love your wife the way you would love yourself or treat yourself or want yourself to be treated, your relationship's going to be so much better. And isn't that really what it's about? I mean, if our wives are going to be our helpers, our partners in life, don't we want the best out of that relationship? So that's what I've got for today. I would love to go more in depth, man. The challenge of doing this series is that I could just go on and on and on, but for time's sake, I want to try to keep these things within a certain time frame. So I'm going to cut it off here, but thanks for listening, and hopefully this is helpful. I've really enjoyed doing this. My apologies for missing out the last couple of weeks, but I wanted to get back to it and try to get back on track. So here it is. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.